for this?
Yes.
Okay.
For the third time.
No, just kidding. Third time's a charm.
Yes, I'm glad you're here, Patrick. Thank you, homie, for coming back out. It's been a little bit of a trek to finally get a good podcast put together because we've had tons of stuff going on. You've been super busy because now you're really full force into your channel, The Violent Monk, and I absolutely love it. If you guys haven't seen Patrick's channel yet or know about Violent Monk, you've got to check him out. He'll be linked down below, but I'll let you describe it because I love your channel, but explain like your thought process behind Violent Monk and like what your channel is, and you too.
Yeah, sure. So Violent Monk is actually a piece of a larger picture, right? Like
Right.
The brand that I own and run is called Uncivilized Ways. Within
nice.
that is kind of a philosophy, and it's a philosophy I coined called being a violent monk, right? And
Nice.
it's taking back some old ways and old thoughts of there are men in the world who just want to be left alone.
Leave me alone! Don't invite me! Don't call me! Don't text me! I'm not interested! Leave me alone!
Peaceful life, we want to do our thing, we don't want our freedoms trampled upon, we're not going to mess with anyone.
Yeah.
But in this modern world, you have to be able to protect that. So if you don't practice and train and have some skills in self-defense and have some resources to be able to protect that way of life, it can be taken from you.
And we're seeing that in a lot of ways, and I think you're hitting the nail square on the head with it, because if you just turn on TV, you see exactly what you're talking about. A lot of it is, a lot of people, especially in today's day and age, they've lost root with a lot of that stuff, and you're kind of trying to help bring that back to the forefront, because there's a lot of guys that really do just want to be left alone, and a lot of it stems from, we're getting stuff taken from us, and you're seeing it in abundance, really, in today's day and age. But I think it's really cool that you're kind of spitting the message on it, because the way you come across, especially in the videos that you post, it's a measured kind of response, because you're speaking from a place of experience too, because you have a background in a lot of these things. So can you go into that a little bit, like your background, where you come from, like why a lot of this resonates and why you have so much knowledge on it?
Yeah, so like growing up and still to this day, so I'm 50 now, like I've never been a
You
big...
don't look 50.
Thank you. I've never been a big guy. I just have those genes. It's those, it's that native blood. It keeps me just lanky and thin and wiry. So as a kid, I got picked on a lot. So growing up in that time frame, for you older Gen Xers like me out there, we had Kung Fu Theater on Saturday mornings, right after cartoons, and I was just enamored with what I saw. Not knowing that that's not realistic, but like, ooh, I'm gonna go take Kung Fu. And that was around the karate phase, the Karate Kid, like the first one had just come out, and everyone's signing up for karate classes, and I'm like, no, I'm gonna go learn Kung Fu. I went and learned Kung Fu. Like, I dedicated as much time as I could in learning how to defend myself, so that I wouldn't get picked on and bullied and beat up at school, which was happening almost on a daily basis. That pivoted into, I've studied multiple styles now. We're coming up on, if I'm 50, that makes 40 years. I've dedicated my life to combatives, right? Then I wanted to do something in my career with that. So I was, I went to sleep and I got myself a good government job. I became a counterterrorism agent, and I've been, at last count, I've been to 39 different countries. I've been all around the world doing pipe hitter shit. I've worked here domestically in almost every state. And when I got a taste for what the government does and some of the unethical things that happen behind the scenes, I've been there firsthand, and I've done it. Like, I've done those things that guys like us complain about now. I've trampled on people's rights. I've done it. I know what it feels like now to be on both sides of that fence.
Right.
And through a culmination of factors, I decided I'm done with this. I'm gonna go out into the world. I got a corporate job for a little while. I was trying to figure out my path, and then I realized I need to work for myself, and I need to get my kids out of public school, and I need to, hunt my food, grow my food. Like, I'm probably the first real life extremist you've had on the show, because I literally untethered from everything systematically.
Complete disconnect on it.
I make my own deodorant. Like, I don't even buy things off the shelf anymore. I trust nothing and no one anymore. So I am literally the guy who wants to be left alone.
Right. Go off grid, be left alone.
I'm going to figure out how to take care of myself and my kids. I'm not going to bother anyone. Like I was telling you when I got here, I'm a little spicy today. I was out in public too long. That's not for me anymore.
Well, and a lot of people, that's kind of the same way, because I get that way sometimes, because you get out, especially in today, it depends on where you live at, of course. But like in our area, like around here, it's, and Nate will tell you this too, like 20 years ago, it was completely different.
Yeah.
But nowadays, like you walk around and there's so many people, especially people that are not self-aware, don't know what the hell's going on. And you see it, and you don't, I'm not trying to be mean about it, but you see a lot of stupidity in people, and you can't deal with people, because these people, there's so many of them, and they don't understand what's going on, or they don't have situational awareness. And it kind of makes you on edge a little bit.
That's the big thing. They don't have situational awareness. And that's like, if anybody goes to my channel and watches specifically the Violent Monk series, we talk about situational awareness, personal security concepts, like how to keep your head up and about, and like the difference between practice and training, and how to carry yourself in public, and why I carry the things I carry on my body and off body, and the practical uses for those. So that's what that ethos is really all about. Like, there are some of us who are just going to put our head down and live our life and do our thing, but at the same time, don't try to come take that from me, because some of us have the skills to actually protect that, and we will do something about it.
And I feel like that's a lost art, and it's not like you're condoning like violence towards another person. It's a lot of these people are trying to force and project ideas and a philosophy onto you that you don't agree with. But at the same time, you just really want to be left alone, but they don't want you to be alone. They want you to conform to what they want, or they want to have you into this big group think type ideology, when a lot of it is just having the basic freedom to just, be yourself and do you. And if you want to be left alone, you should be able to be left alone. I feel like that's slowly becoming a dying theory, because a lot of people now are in that group think with their head down, and they don't look up to see what's going on, really.
Or they've signed up for all the stuff that we've been pumped on, things like social media and advertisements and movies. Like, there's sensationalization about divisiveness and this way of life that we have right now in the modern world, and that's what causes all the problems. Is we, and I for a long time too, believe it, right? That's when we really look and think about some of our history, because you're like a history guy too.
I'm
right?
a huge history nerd.
Look at the history of humans on this planet, right? Number one, we no longer live around our people. Like, if you live in a neighborhood, especially these master planned ones of 300, 500 homes that are going up, that's not your tribe. You don't live around your people. You moved there because it was closer to work, or it was a good school system. Like in this county, we've got one of the top rated school systems in the state, right?
Yeah.
Or it's safe. We have the lowest crime rate in the Atlanta metro area. But you're not around your people. So if something really goes wrong, do you think there's going to be collaboration, or there's going to be competition?
And that's the thing of like community, right? What does that mean to you? What does that word or that term mean? When you talk about your community or your family or the people you can count on, is that your neighbor that you live next to for 5 years but you don't know his name?
Yeah.
Or is it your family that lives nearby you? Because that's a lot of the same thing. Do you have people around you that you could talk to or you could trust? No, like you said, you moved places because of convenience.
Yeah.
And I think like our life has become, a lot of it for a lot of people is convenience, the convenience factor behind things, right?
Yeah.
So if it's easier, we're going to do it.
Yeah.
But the easiest thing might not always be the right thing in the long stretch of the conversation, because if you go for the convenience and you sacrifice principles, or you sacrifice yourself or your well-being or situational awareness just for convenience, then is that really a good thing for you? So
no. And then now's where we throw in history. What's the one thing that we've been really good at and gotten better at over the course of time?
War.
War. We will inevitably fight with each other. And when you are in your master planned community and stuff really hits the fan and goes bad, because in the secular cycle, America's due for it, honestly. This is the second fall of Rome, right? Here I go down the rabbit hole.
I'm a huge Roman history guy, but there are parallels, but
yes.
Keep going.
If we follow a similar parallel, or things go politically or economically the way that they're tracking to, right? I try not to get into politics too much. I know you guys don't either, but we just have to look at it for what it is, right? If things are going the way history points, you may be at odds with that neighbor next door.
Yeah.
And they're 3 meals away from trying to kick in your front door.
And that's a super big point too, because a lot of people, and there's been studies that show this, a lot of people don't have food for the next 2 days in their fridge.
Yeah.
So, and then when it gets down to brass tacks, if something happens and that food is gone for that person, where are they going to go next?
Yep.
To the next person.
Yep.
Because
are you prepared to protect that? Have you physically prepared? Have you trained? Have you trained your family? Does your family have an emergency plan? Like my kids and I do fire drills at the house. You know,
but some people will see that and they'll hear you say that and be like, "Oh, what is that? That's a weird way to think. Why would you have an emergency plan for your family? What, you think like a volcano's going to go off in Forsyth County?" It's not just that. A lot of people, even when I was growing up, you know, I came from a divorced household, and I was with my mom a lot of the time. Well, with me going to school and my younger brothers being younger than I by like 5 years, I was going to middle school and high school first, and you know, I'm by myself a lot of those times on the bus ride home, or sitting out after school, or going somewhere, and me and my mom at least set up an emergency plan. We had a code word, like if I had to call her and something was wrong and something was weird and I did not want to be where I was at, I said something about it. We had that kind of in place, and that's not a weird thing to happen, because you want to be able to have that kind of common sense when it comes to a bad situation that's going to happen. I don't feel like that's a crazy thing, but you look at statistics, and there's a vast majority of people that have no idea what an emergency plan is or have any type of plan set up.
Yeah.
So
people just don't look at the world that way, but that's the world we live in. And it's only gotten progressively more advanced and elegant and violent over the years. This is a violent planet. We are violent animals on this planet. You can either be someone who is ready for violence or not. And if you're not, you're going to be a victim. So the whole concept of when I created this philosophy was prepare for violence, train for it, be the baddest person in the room, but no one should know it.
Yeah.
And that's the monk side of it, is I'm here, I'm just trying to be peaceful, I'm quiet, I want to do my thing, I want to meditate and read my books and raise my kids, but if you cross this line, we're not in that mode anymore.
To use a history term, you've crossed the Rubicon.
Exactly. So that's what that ethos is. You know, larger brand wise, there's a lot of other things I talk about. You know, I see men that are lost in the modern world, and it ties into that too, and I help them kind of remember the old skills. Like I've got neighbors who spend all this money on elegant fire pits and all these things, and they don't know how to start a fire. And you want to laugh at it, and you're like, our ancestors figured this out 200,000 years ago. Like, can you not make fire? Holy God! And someone who's just not ready for the reality of the world. So yeah, my whole thing that probably ties in best to your audience and like what you do here and why we've been, you know, friends for so long now is I believe that we all have an innate right to defend ourselves. And in order to do so, you have to train for it. You have to be ready for it.
And you have to train in the weaponry of your time.
Yep.
We have that weaponry, and our biggest thing that we focus in on here is being able to customize it for you.
Right.
Every single person is different, and you are on your own journey in and of yourself to try and figure out how best to, you know, learn how to protect and defend yourself and the people that you care about. And this ties into that aspect of it. Yeah, it looks cool, but at the same time, there's a core-based principle behind it. If it doesn't work for you, you need to figure out a way of how it needs to work for you. Customize it in a certain way that makes it work for you, to where you are proficient with being able to defend yourself, or you know how you're going to defend yourself. So that's one of our biggest things here, because like I've said this a million times. Whenever a person comes in, we're not a regular gun store. I'm not going to just try and sell you whatever's on the wall just because I'm trying to make a sale. what is going to be best for you. And if we have it here, but it needs to be tweaked in such a way to make it that much more better for you, let's do it.
Right.
Because yeah, it might cost a little bit of money now, but in the long run, if it's set up exactly for you and how it's going to work best for you, in my head, in my headspace, that's my peace of mind. Because I know my equipment, I know my weapon system, I know how I'm going to be able to use it to defend myself if I need to.
Right.
That reassures me, and then it de-stresses me a little bit, because I'm not sitting there myself. Because you have people that come in that will go to some other gun store and they'll buy a Walther PDP, or they'll buy a SIG 365, and they'll have it in their desk side cabinet or whatever beside their bed, and then something happens at their house and they have no idea how to load the damn thing, or aim it, or cycle if there's a malfunction. And in those situations, you can't afford to miss a second beat. You have to react. So I like the philosophy aspect of it, because I feel like what you talk about on your channel really hits home for people to, especially if they're into firearms and self-defense and weaponry and stuff like that. You're like having a mindset and then practically or applying it,
Right.
go hand in hand.
Right.
So,
and I'm glad you said that last part too, and that kind of ties into like some of the recent videos you guys have done too that I really love seeing. It's like, yes, you can do all this, and you can buy your gun, and you can even take it to the range and practice with it, right?
Yeah.
But people have to understand there's a huge difference, and I preach this on the channel nonstop. There is a huge difference between practice and training. Standing at an indoor range, firing at a piece of paper that is not moving and firing back is not a duress situation, and you are not in a gunfight.
Right.
You're practicing, and that's great, because you're going to get some fundamentals. I'm not knocking it. I'm not saying
no, it's a part of it. You have
what
to do
I'm
that.
saying is, if you really want to be prepared, right, you have to now elevate that to training. Apply duress, get yourself a blue gun, go to, like, I'm a fan of Matt Clanton. He makes, like, the rubber guns and all that kind of stuff, right? Get yourself some training aids and apply those situations under duress. Learn how to move, learn how to get target acquisition when your heart rate is up and your hands are sweaty and you're shaking and fumbling, right? Because your 2-second draw time doesn't matter at that point.
Yeah.
Because you've had to find cover or pull someone else to safety.
Exactly.
And now it's about, am I actually drawing my weapon? You have decision making.
Yeah, you have to think through things. And
Right.
That was I'm guessing,
Right.
and you've seen one of our videos that we went to Bullseye and we
Yeah.
did the range. If you haven't seen that one, it's where we go for the excessive force training or whatever it is. But we did those because those were like some of the most common situations that you either see in the news or that you've gotten from people's prior experience. And we expelled some myths in that one too, because like we did Devin and Nate did the straight up gunfight, like the gunfighter Western style thing.
Yeah.
And you see the fallacy of it when you look at Hollywood and like movies and pictures. But Nate and Devin, are pretty quick on the draw. They have about the same draw time and everything. If you're trying to do that, you're going to get hurt, especially if the other person's accurate.
Yeah.
In a gunfight, drawing and shooting, yeah, you may win the gunfight. I may kill you, but guess what? You probably hit me 3 times, and I'm probably not going to enjoy it later.
Yeah.
And then, those situations got your heart rate going, and so you have to think about those kind of things. And we just wanted to highlight that because I feel like that ties into your ethos mindset. You've got to be able to think when a situation happens, and those are just a few situations. There's 100 more, and they can be going 100 different ways. So that's why training.
And you
like
can't
said,
train for every scenario.
No, you can't.
just can't. But you have to know what your body is going to do under duress.
Yes.
And you have to be able to think and breathe and act clearly. And that's like the biggest thing that I emphasize on there is all of these tools are great. The mindset, the philosophy, this is all great. When it comes down to it, are you actually training under duress so that you know what your body is going to do when that time comes? So that's what we've really honed in on when we had that playlist going strong, and in a lot of the later videos, you're gonna see tactics, you're gonna see all this stuff too. We talk about like the practical application, and that's what I want people to go out there and seek and find. So if you have those opportunities to get to a Bullseye or just any other trainers in your area who offer this, or just go buy the weapons yourself, go to Clanton, go to whoever you prefer, grab your buddies one night and just go beat the snot out of each other at a local park or in your backyard. Your neighbors are going to hate you. My neighbors hate me because my kids and I are outside like beating the snot out of each other, and I'm teaching them these things. But like, that's how you are going to get that knowledge, that muscle memory, and that understanding of, oh, it's not like in the movies.
No.
Oh, it's
exactly.
not like on YouTube, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm actually not ready for a violent encounter.
Right. And it's always, you always have those guys that are like, oh, in that kind of situation, I would do this, or I would do this, and this is how you're supposed to do that. But they've never been in the situation, or they never tried to train for that situation. And then you put them in that situation. I'm saying the situation a lot. And they have no idea what the hell they're doing.
Yeah.
You need to have some sort of practical application. You have to have it because it helps build that muscle memory, like you said.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's a key thing in today's day and age, and I'm so glad that your channel is highlighting that, and I'm so glad that we're friends.
Yeah.
But you know, it's something that I feel like our viewers will enjoy. And guys, if you have enjoyed it, where can they reach you at, Patrick?
So I am only on YouTube now exclusively. I've tried all my social media. I can't be in those places anymore. It's just not for me. YouTube is, the handle is at Uncivilized Ways. It's all one word. And then you will see the podcast and the playlist called The Violent Monk. And everything that I talked about today is all under there. You're going to see philosophy videos. You're going to see like some spiritual stuff too. We talk about shadow work and Carl Jung and like how to like keep your mind healthy when you're in this sort of lifestyle, because this is a burden, right? Like you're walking around in a certain sense of alertness all day long.
All the time.
Right, so I talk about mental stuff, spiritual stuff, and then you'll see all the practical training stuff as well. So at Uncivilized Ways, go to the Violent Monk playlist and you'll get all that content there.
That's awesome. And we're probably going to end up doing more stuff with Patrick in the future. So guys, we hope you like the podcast. The cops just flew by.
Right, good timing.
Good timing. But we hope you like the podcast. Patrick, thank you again for coming on, dude. Third time's a charm. We got it this time.
Right.
The mics work. Everything works. Guys, we'll see you in the next one. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And we'll see you. Awesome. We did it.